Let's get corrupted. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Joe with Meteoric Serpents coming back at you for another episode of the Colubrid Corruption Podcast. Guys, this is episode number 35, and this is the Pre-Daytona show. And I have two very special guests with me. I know there's a ton of people who come from around the country to be at this show. It's going to be awesome. Obviously, I'm in Florida, so this is a quote-unquote backyard show, a little 3.5 hour drive, but definitely lots of fun. I've gone the last 2 years since moving here, and it's just been awesome. And especially this year is going to be even more fun because I know way more people this time, so overall going to be really cool, and we're about to get right into it. But before we do that, guys, as usual, make sure you hit like and subscribe on today's podcast. We're, again, chasing that 1,000 subscribers, getting closer and closer by the week. I appreciate you all who watch and listen to this podcast. Thank you all so much. But yeah, hitting that subscribe button would mean a lot. You could also listen to this podcast on all the major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I know Google's another one. So definitely go check us out there. But if you're like me, you'd prefer the audio-visual experience. I think it's a lot more fun, a little more personable. But wherever you listen, thank you very much. It's awesome to see all the support. I see the little maps of where people are listening all around the world. It's really, really cool, actually. So yeah, thank you guys. Also, all my social medias are down in the description below. I know one of our guests is blocking them on the screen, but it's at Meteoric Serpents on pretty much everything. You see them all the time, every week, at Meteoric Serpents. You could go follow. And it's also in the description, so check that out. Also, guys, if one, you should be supporting USARK Florida. Those are the organizations that fight for our rights to keep our reptiles. Yes, USARK. I'm not wearing mine. I'm repping one of our guests, Chris, who we'll introduce in a minute or two. But yeah, definitely go support. That's how, again, we keep our rights to keep our reptiles. Also, guys, I'm going to plug it every week. As you all know, Daytona is a Colubrid show. There's a lot more diversity, I'd say. From what I've heard from people that go to shows all around the country, Daytona is definitely one of the most diverse show, like species-wise and stuff like that. So that's going to make it really fun. But what this podcast is all about and what we're really supporting, Colubrid Fest is coming in a month and a half now. You're not going to want to miss it. If you're watching this podcast, you'll see the poster on the screen. The 3-day event, September 27th through 29th at the Indiana Convention Center, put on by our good friends over at CCR, Zach and Clint, as well as the Show Me Reptiles show. Colubrid only show, lots of panel speaking talks. It's going to be great. I am going to be on one of the panels, as we discussed last time. So going to be a lot of fun. I hope you all make it, and I hope to, meet you all there. Last couple things before we get started. If you want to say thanks for the show, if you want to support me in any other way, there is the link to the Meteoric Serpents Patreon in the description. That gives you a little more behind the scene access of what goes on here. You get early access, early notification about what's going on with the podcast, all that stuff, and some other cool perks. So make sure you go check that out. And last but not least, we do have Colubrid, the Colubrid corruption, hashtag Colubrid corruption of the week. And we're going to pull that up right now. And this one I chose from former guest of the show, Copperhead Reptilia, Chris, the common trinket snake, Colugnathus helena. I think the Colugnathus genus is just super underrated. I think these snakes are really cool, and I'm excited to see more of them in the hobby. I think we're going to start seeing them over the next few years, but this is a really cool snake. Hope you all get to see this and appreciate that. And yeah, maybe go do a little research about the genus because I think it's super cool. But yeah, guys, without further ado, if you're watching this, you've seen them on the screen the whole time. Let us welcome our guests. We have on Chris Montross of Dark Horse Herpetoculture, who I'm repping today, and Jason Hood of Snakes Unlimited here to talk about Daytona, like the pre-Daytona show. They are both vending, and which is why I wanted to have them on the show. And they're both former guests, so you should definitely go check out their individual episodes. But what's up, guys? How are you guys?
Doing great. Appreciate you having us on.
Yeah.
Good, man. I'm going to keep muting and unmuting myself. So I got 3 dogs sitting here, so I'm trying not to blast everybody's speakers out.
I got you beat. They're going in and out the dog door next to me constantly. So
No, it's all good, guys. Don't worry. No, but I really appreciate you guys coming on this week. I know I asked some other people as well. I wanted this to be a fun little roundtable, but I know show planning is super, super stressful, and I totally get that. It was kind of a long shot of me asking. Otherwise, I was gonna, put something else together, but I really appreciate you guys being here in the hecticness of this week. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, the biggest problem we got this week is just getting the list together for Wayne's FWC contributions here, where we give them all a list of all our animals, which I brought up in the past. Like, that's not an FWC regulation that's needed, but apparently it's a Wayne regulation, which they've adopted, which is just crazy.
You have to give him a list, you're saying?
Yeah, if you're vending, you don't get any of your information, your table, anything, unless you give him a list of everything you're bringing with you walking in the door, along with a copy of your FWC certificate, your permit, rather.
And import permit for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, so it was under my scope. What I was told to be vending, like in terms of the animals, is having your license on hand, obviously, and then you have to have an inventory list on hand in case an officer walks around and check. But that's interesting to say he kind of collects one. But
yeah, so you don't in defense of Wayne, which no one ever wants to do is defend Wayne, but in defense of Wayne, what he's trying to do is streamline it to where they have your inventory list ahead of time. They can sit down in an office, go through everything, and see if there's anything they want to check. If there's a whole bunch of animals that are more than likely smuggled, and because part of your list, you have to detail where you got the animals from, where they originated from. So if a whole bunch of people have all the same importer supplying them whichever species from a foreign country or whatever the situation is that's shady, they're going to come talk to you, whether or not you thought you bought them legally, if they're looking at it as a shady thing. So you're basically walking the door, handing them the beginning of their case against anybody that may be doing something illegal there. So, I mean, on the flip side, it should eliminate some people from doing illegal stuff there, but it is Daytona. There's people that are going to be stupid no matter what, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. All right. Cool. Before we get started about, specific Daytona talk, I wanted to give you guys kind of the opportunity, because it's been a while since you both have been on. I was just talking to Chris about it. It's crazy. It's been over 6 months since his episode came out. And Jason, I guess it's just slightly less for you because you were somewhere in the teens. We're on episode 35 now. But what's going on with this season? If you guys want to talk about like species wise, hatchlings, what's going on. And we'll talk about what you're going to have at Daytona later. But yeah, if you just want to talk about your seasons a little bit.
Go ahead, Chris.
All right, sure. Pretty good year this year. Plenty of misses, that's part of it every year. Didn't produce some things I was really hoping to, but got some stuff that missed last year. So lots of really nice Everglades this year. Couple different localities, yellow rats, Deckert's rats. Produced with my Everglades line, we had a buddy of mine in 2022, brought in a new locality specific line of amelanistic Everglades, and one of the pairs produced yet another morph in that. And so this one pair is producing technically 4 phenotypes out of F2 animals out of the original F1 captive born pairing. So that's been kind of neat. And I ended up with unexpected higher odds this year of the morphs than I have the past couple of years. So that was pretty cool. The pale sides that popped up in 2022 alongside the A males, and then I have pale-sided A males, and produce the second and third ones ever this year. I'll have those with me. Produced quite a few more of the pale sides than I had in the past. I'd only produced, I think, 6 total out of 4 clutches the first 2 years, and produced I don't know, I think like 7 or so this year alone, not including the pale A males. So like I hit the odds this year unexpectedly. So I'll be able to start actually offering those this year. I've only got one other guy with a pair of the pales, and nobody's got any of the pale A males. I'll have a pair of those with me. What else rat snake wise do I got? Always producing some Gulf hammocks. I've got some great F1s with me, several nice pairs. And then water snakes. Produced a lot of good water snakes this year. I'll be introducing the first I got with my water snake buddies and kind of went with the name Casper. 2018, I think it was, down in Louisiana. We were rat snake hunting for some rat snakes, and in an area that we liked the phenotype from. And I was looking for water snakes the whole time, like I always do, and found a baby anathoristic-looking yellow-bellied water snake, and kept it in a normal one. Everything we caught were males, all like 7 we saw, no females at all. Everything, in fact, all the water snakes we saw in that area were all males. But anyways, kept it back, raised it up, sourced a female from a neighboring parish from a buddy of mine, and produced them in 2022 for the first time, and just expected to get normals and it be some sort of, recessive sort of trait. And I got visuals of something different than anathoristic. They appeared to be both axanthic and anathoristic, and the litter kind of varied from normal to this ghostly looking color. It's kind of weird. They get white bellies, like a kind of a ghostly look, slightly darker eyes.
Okay.
There's a little variation between the one end and the other end, but basically they have a very like washed out ghosty look, and we're throwing around names. We didn't want to go with ghost because it's too used and everything, and it works differently than the way this thing works. So we went with Casper, and I'm kind of thinking, because of the way this directly produced, and there was not a recessive nature to the situation, that once we're able to produce these together, that we're going to get something more, something farther. We don't know. I just sent out a pair to Aaron Morris. He got a pair, picked up, we did some swapping, and he got a pair of those from me and some normals. So I might know more this next year because I have some of the 2022s, but I only produced males of that visual form in 2022. Okay. So I don't know what's going to happen with a normal sib and a visual. I don't know, but I produced a big litter from this female. This female now is over 5 foot, and I got 28 babies from her.
Oh wow!
So I got quite a few of these visuals, and I'll have I think 2 pairs with me, I think, and so they'll be, first ones out there, kind of in the light. So I have a couple new things for this show, but I had numerous small litters always, of mangrove salt marsh snakes, both Lee County and Dade County, Florida bandits, Lake Jessops, Hendry counties down in Devil's Garden, broadbands, 2 very, very different localities of broadbands, one from southern Louisiana, where that yellow belly came from, and then some from over in Chambers County, Texas. So there'll be some of those that are very, very different extremes of that subspecies. Handful of others mixed in all between there, a couple of juveniles, that sort of thing.
Very cool.
So, and then the Papuans. I'll have Papuan carpets with me. Bred them for the first time this year after going down a rabbit hole, and got about 2 dozen or so of those babies coming with me. So that'll be a little bit of a change on the table, but it hasn't been a table in years, so it'll be all good.
Yeah, very cool, man. And Jason, what's going on with your season over there? I know you've been updating us with pictures every so often and on Instagram and stuff, but talk about it a little bit.
Much to Billy's chagrin, I'm having what I consider a bad year. He keeps giving me crap about it, but I missed on a lot of the key species that people know me for, and then produce some other stuff that, like I have bull snakes, and I don't exactly have a name in the bull snake world. I've got cave dwelling rat snakes, and I don't exactly have a name over there either, but I still got some nice animals that coming up. A small number of tigers, but they're probably going to go to Asia. I have somebody I'm waiting on payment for on that, but I'm going to bring some older ones. I got to get one to Keith McPeat. He needs a female from me, and then I think I'll have one additional pair beyond that, maybe an additional male or something. Some holdbacks I'm just pulling out just to have some different stuff on the table. Some Alterna, which is great. I'm looking at a dozen clutches that haven't hatched, of course, because it's the Daytona curse. It's every year. That was my goal way back, 15, 20 years ago, trying to just manipulate all of my daylight cycles to push the animals to produce earlier. And I actually did it just light cycle changing. I moved them almost 2 months, and then I moved to Chicago, and it didn't matter anymore. I wasn't driving down here for the Daytona show at that time with what I had. But I got to figure out something, because most of the milks and stuff that I have are not even going to be hatched out by the time I get there. But something nice to come home to, something to bring to Tinley with me.
Okay.
It'll be a fun time. But I got one clutch of Bacillinotus right now. I've had 3 clutches of slugs for some odd reason, or 4 slugs. I don't know what's going on with that. 1 clutch of sulfurous. I missed on my second one. Like the stuff that I typically have dialed in and I'm good at, just not my year. I missed on my diamond jungle crosses, but I got straight jungles. So
okay,
something's better than nothing. Just all of my little individual highlight targets I missed, and then all the stuff I was like, yeah, these are just my extras. Are going to be my primary this year.
Okay,
but as I say, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of people, I've seen in different spaces have commented about, the environmental changes, like weird things in the last couple of years with El Nino and stuff like that. Do you think that has anything to do with it, or you think something just weird off with the animals, or I don't know?
It's ever since I moved. I got a new building that I've just not figured out yet, and I'm just got to keep trying.
Right.
I'm gonna get it. I got it. It's a 30 by 50 building, so it's like my heaven. That's what I've always targeted as a goal in life, and I bought this place basically because of that building.
Okay.
And I got it spray foam insulated, and it's got great insulation, but it heats up in the winter. So I'm going to try to get some. I got to get a rheostat on my exhaust fans that are on that building. The guy use it for woodworking, so we had these big exhaust fans to blow the stain fumes out of the building and out of his paint room. They're just too powerful. So I got to get a rheostat on them to dial them down, and then put a thermostat on them to kick on whenever it drops below like 75 outside, kick off when it gets to like 55 and inside, and hopefully it'll keep the whole building cooler that way when it is cold. Because even when it's cold outside, the building, because of the heat lights inside and the insulation and the fact that it's a metal building in the sun, it just heats up.
Right.
So I think it's what it is, but I'm not 100%. But I've had 3 other ideas of what it was in the past, and I just got to keep trying. I got to figure out the building. I've said it before. I don't think it's because I've moved in the past and never missed a beat. It's that I moved and I didn't set things up right when I did move. And there's conditions of the building that aren't right after the move. And it's those environmentals that you got to get dialed in anywhere you are. Just for whatever reason, this building's just kicking my butt. I'm not producing like I should be. And then Billy has zero sympathy for me.
Gotcha, man. All right. Well, at least you still have stuff. We all have misses. I think it's inevitable as a reptile keeper and breeder, right? You go through some hardship and misses, and I sure did this year with some stuff. But yeah, it's always a learning curve and figuring new things out and adjusting to change. So I'm sure we'll get there.
It's the 3 years in a row that's kicking my ass right now. But
yeah, I gotcha.
The first year was a lot more depressing because I was so consistent for so long. That first year that I dived down to way lower production was like, that was hard, man. And then I kind of pretended to be expecting it the next year, and I really wasn't. I thought I was going to bounce right back. So it was like another like real kick in the pants. And then this year I was expecting it fully. No bullshit, no false bravado about it. I expected to have a bad year. So I'm not as depressed about it this year, which is at least a little bit better.
Yeah. All right.
It sucks whenever the thing you love is what's also causing a nice major depression in you when you're looking at your numbers, and it's like, I got this great building, but that building costs money, and all those animals cost money, and I'm not in it for the money, but as the almost famous, some money would certainly be nice.
Yes, for sure. All right, cool. Now obviously, as I mentioned already, you guys are both vending Daytona. I kind of want to get your headspace as vendors. Like, what are your pre-Daytona vibes? Are you ready to have fun? Are you nervous? I know it's probably been stressful in this like preparation, but just to give the people, the audience who has not experienced vending, especially at a big show like this, what are kind of the things running through your head personally?
Excited, anxious, stressed out, all the above, just because I haven't been to Daytona. We just been going the past half dozen years again or so. Because it'd been years since I'd been making it down, and we just decided to start making an annual trip of it. My wife's been bugging me to vend the show for a couple of years. She's like, you should do it. I'm like, but I don't need to. Everything moves just fine. We just decided, like, I finally gave in. I was like, all right, let's just see what happens. Let's go. See what comes of it. Especially with it's FedEx, prices keep going up, and some people, whine about how much it costs to ship and that sort of thing. It's figure we'll give it a go and see what kind of reception there is with it. Maybe a once and done, may become a habit.
Yeah. Sorry to sidetrack real quick, but no, it's definitely those FedEx prices are really a damper on some people. Just in general, I feel like it's something I've seen, and not, I can't predict, and I haven't had a ton of animals for sale, but I've had plenty of people that go, hey, what's the shipping to this zip code? I give them the price, and then I never hear from them again. And I'm like, is it because of the price I told them, or were they not actually interested? But I do know that, if you're selling $100 animal, or even less, and then you tell them, it's $80 to ship, it's like, well.
Yeah, exactly. It does make a difference, some amount. I mean, for me, if I want it, I'm gonna ship it and get it from somebody. But because I don't, other than Daytona, I typically don't go to shows. We just make a vacation of it because it's back home for me, and I get to see all my friends from back home, and family comes, stops by and visits, and that sort of thing. And so it's we just do it to do it, every year. So but it's, I don't get to really see what it is. So when I want something, I just order it.
Yeah.
It's usually from somebody I already know, anyways. And half the time we're swapping something. So I've accepted it. But if you're moving snakes pretty regularly, and you're selling a pair of snakes, it's $100 each. It's then pushing $300 for them to get it if it's any more than a neighboring state away, and much less if it goes to Washington or somewhere on the complete other coast, and it's pushing 100 to get it all the way out there. So it we'll see. It seems like a lot of people are saying stuff directly to me that they can't wait. They're getting VIP tickets to just come in and come to my table and that sort of stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Hell yeah.
Colubrid Fest a month later, and we'll see how that goes. I don't know. It hopefully it goes well. Done.
For sure.
I'll still go back to Daytona and have a good time and enjoy it in the future without vending.
Absolutely.
As long as you don't get ripped off by the Hilton.
Oh, the damn Hilton. That bill ends up being so damn expensive every damn year.
Well, no, I don't know if you caught it last year or not, but they hit me for an extra $600 in parking.
What?
Like, yeah, I wasn't alone. Like, there was at least 50, 60 people that got these ridiculous charges for extra parking that they never parked on. Like, it's almost like they just said, hey, let's throw $30,000-$40,000 in charges out there and see who wants a charge back.
Whoa. Yeah, we didn't we haven't seen any of that on ours.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just usually that whatever $20 a day for their lot to do.
Yeah.
And
it was with the room, you had unlimited parking in and out at the lot. And then I get my bill, or I get my receipt from the thing a week later, and it was supposed to be $200, and instead it was, I guess the whole bill was like $680. So it was an extra $400 in parking. So I posted about it, and a dozen people jumped on my post. Someone else posted about it a couple days later that wasn't on my post. Same thing. Another dozen people on that one. So a ton of people got hit with that.
wow.
I thought it was special, but I wasn't.
Well, I know a bunch. I was talking to a couple friends, and they're all saying, like, guys that vend and stuff, that they just park at the Ocean Center, particularly guys that vend, and that's just where they park, and they park over there, and they'll park in the Hilton lot. And so we were toying with doing that. We weren't sure what we were going to do yet, but
that's a pay by day. You get a little placard thing for it, and it just weirded me out because you don't actually get a 24-hour pass on it, but I don't think they actually ticket anybody in that lot either.
That's kind of what I was being. That's what kind of I was being told too. Yeah, my wife was reading one thing on the website about how they charge, and then everybody's telling me it's completely different. Like, yeah, we just go in and pay once and we're done. I'm like, well, I need it there till Monday morning because that's when we leave to head back home. And I was like, well, can I do it all the way to Monday morning? So I'm kind of on the fence about what we were going to do. We'll make the decision, I guess, when we get down to Daytona.
So what I did both last year and this year to keep my costs, and again, I'm just attending, keep it way down. So there's a hotel down the street from the Ocean Center. It's a mile or less. The Boardwalk Inn and Suites. Listen, it's no Hilton. It's not super nice. It is what it is. It's just a standard hotel. But I got one night for $120, and you get parking with that. You park in their little under lot, and on both Saturday and Sunday morning, I just walked over there. I walked the mile, and it's hot, obviously in the morning like that, but it kind of worth it to save a little bit of extra money, and I don't mind the little walk. It is what it is.
Hilton's the same price. You get in early enough, as long as they don't get you for the extra $400 in parking fees.
Yeah.
But
you get it right off the bat on that little deal. It's not bad, per night on the whole.
It's just when you're trying to. I don't leave my animals in the show. I never have. Well, I've done it a couple times at this point, but in 20 plus years of doing this, I bring my animals home every night or bring them back to the hotel every night. So I don't want to be dragging them a mile down the road or having to move my car back and forth.
I totally get you. I know some people have complained about the Hilton price, and maybe they're waiting a little long. So that's just my little tidbit of how to save money for the show.
I'm at the next hotel north this year because I was told it was better and basically the same price. But when I charged out, what I thought was a 2-night room rate was actually a 1-night room rate, and the 2-night room rate, I'm at like $600 or something stupid.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, it's but whatever. It was like you could cancel anytime until I got to after I booked it, and then it was like no cancellations. I'm like, whoa, what the hell is this? I'm sure I could do it and I could fight it and everything, but I'm like, if the rooms really are nice, if I walk in there and it's a crappy room with moldy smell and all that, then I'm gonna raise hell. But it's it's somebody I actually did work for that unit downstairs as well, so it's a former customer, so maybe I can finagle something once I'm there.
Okay.
I like the Hilton just because it's convenient. There's food options right inside the place, and it's just like, I don't have to. And there's food options right outside next door, so it's always been just kind of convenient, that sort of thing. We stayed one year, like 2 years ago. We kind of were late in deciding we were going to be able to go to do some pending conflicts of timing, and I booked a room down at the Ocean Edge, which is like, I don't know, 0.7 miles north up the road. And it's like it kind of operated like an Airbnb. You just get a number and you go in the door, and these like little small, really small rooms. But man, the place was like, it was only like $80 a night, but it was clean. Wow. It was cold. The room was just small because initially I was just going by myself because my wife's schedule was going to conflict, and then it opened up and she ended up coming. So it was a little tight for us together in there, but like it was cheap, and it was just it was under a mile walk down the road. It was easy enough to do, but Hilton's just convenient, and most everybody's staying there. Just walk across the street to the show. Just
being right at the Hilton's worth it for the people. Hang out and chat and see another side of people that you didn't know existed. Especially 3 a.m. on the Strip.
3 a.m. at the gazebo out back.
We were at the pizza place, and I saw some attitude out of people I didn't think would come up. But
it's definitely an interesting and enjoyable environment down there.
Yeah.
Lots of good people watching.
People watching and just people interacting, man. Daytona's a great time, and I find the same thing with Tinley. It's a great social interaction as well. I'm hoping I can make Colubrid Fest, but I just got to make some things happen beforehand to be able to pull that off. But I really want to do that one. I thought with the IHS having a table at Daytona, I was hoping that Zach was going to be there, but I just talked to him and he's not going to be there.
Yeah, it's always a bad weekend. Like school starts like Monday type of thing. And so it's really tough for him to try to pull off Daytona because he's always like got to go right into school from that weekend. And so he keeps putting it off and not being able to try to make it happen.
We were talking about it last week, and he said this time the reason was because of the damn Hilton price. And then I texted him. I was like, dude, I'm staying at the boardwalk. I'm like, this is the price. I'm like, look, it's right down the road, whatever. But like, if you're looking to go cheap, like this is an option. And he didn't answer me, which is fine. But I was like, try to get him to come,
You can find some cheap stuff within walking distance if you just look a little bit. But, I wish he'd come down, but so be it. Is what it is. He's got a tough conflict with work, so.
Yeah, for sure.
I can appreciate that. He'll at least be up in Indianapolis, so that'll be good.
You're not going to do Tinley?
I've never been to Tinley.
It's a good show, man.
We've talked about it to at least go up, but it's just with that rest of stuff in life, it's just tough to. But we show dogs, and my wife judges a lot, so that time of year when it starts getting into the cooler months for the South, like she's busy most weekends, and it's tough to go and pull a trip off for one or both of us all the way up there. Like I'm going to Indy with my neighbor, my buddy's riding up with me, and because she's got to be in Orlando, she's flying to Orlando for a judging assignment down there the same weekend. So she was already doing that when the Colubrid Fest dates came up. She's like, well, you're paying for the pet center. God damn it. Is what it is. So I keep saying I'm going to get up there and I want to, just haven't been able to make it happen, unfortunately.
It's definitely worth it.
Yeah. One of these days I'll make it up there. I mean, it's an easy drive. I mean, it's straight up 65 for me because I'm in the middle of Alabama. So just get on 65 and keep going more or less. So it's not a tough drive. It's just a long drive.
That's probably 6 hours shorter than our drive.
Oh, I'm sure. It's probably more than that because for me to get down just to Daytona or Orlando's an 8-hour drive for me. Daytona's a tad more. It usually ends up being a hair over that because I got to go over to Jacksonville and then down 95 to get down there. But so it's Indy's going to be enough of a drive because I think it's a tad less than going to Daytona, but doing that 4-5 weeks after Daytona will be a hoot. So, but I'm looking forward to it. So, get to vend, I get to do a talk, so it'll be fun.
Nice. Cool. Now I kind of wanted to ask what makes the weekend, besides, just the general social interaction because we all get to see our friends, and for me it's a lot of new friends. But like, what makes the weekend overall exciting for you guys? Is it walking around and seeing some cool stuff, like if you get the chance to, I guess, but like what makes the entire weekend exciting for you guys?
A good sales weekend is definitely exciting, but getting around to see everything, that's one thing I'll say is Daytona is way easier to get around and see stuff than it is at Tinley. Tinley's just so much bigger and more packed. That's very difficult in Tinley. Like I don't think I've seen the whole show the last 5-6 years at Tinley. Daytona, it's at least doable. You can make the run before the show opens on Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
And usually be able to burn through it pretty quickly. Especially me. If it's ball pythons, I skip the table. Like I constantly hear, these guys had musaranas. I'm like, where? Like over there on that table. All the ball pythons? Like, yeah, at the end of the table there was one cup with musarana, and it's like, oh yeah, no, missed them completely. But if it's ball pythons, crested geckos, leopard geckos, bearded dragons, I zoom by it and then I check out the rest of the stuff. So the show's a lot quicker that way.
Right.
But that's one reason I really would love to do Colubrid Fest too, is that's I'm skipping all of those skips instead. But yeah, if I can see some stuff, that's great. But it's rare. But it's just seeing people, man. Some of the people I don't talk to for a full year. I only see them at Daytona, at Tinley, at some of the in particular shows, and that's always a fun time. There's people that there's some people I've been selling snakes to for over 20 years now, and I won't see them for a couple years, and they'll pop back up, and you gotta like make your brain work. I'm like, wait, this is this guy, or I've talked to him online, and that really screws me up because I tend not to look at people's profile pictures, so I don't know what people look like necessarily, just because I don't go. I don't know. I feel kind of, I don't know, not creepy, but it's always a little weird for me, like to go check the profile picture. Is that really them, or is that somebody else, or is that a cartoon, or zip through 6 or 7 profile pictures to see who the person is. So, and frequently most people don't seem to have profile pictures anymore that's actually them. So people come up to me and they'll start talking to me, and I gotta sit there and like make my brain go from, okay, this is their Instagram profile name that is not their real name, or this is their real name but they go by something else. Just make it all happen and then make that connection. Sometimes it's about 10 minutes after they walk away, my brain finally goes, that's who it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for me too, it's just like what he said. A lot of it's just getting to talk and meet people and see people. Like I don't interact with herp guys in person hardly ever. Some field buddies now and then, but just getting to catch up with everybody. And this year will be a very different experience vending it. So I'm not going to get to just be wandering the aisles talking to people.
Yep.
I'm not really shopping on the whole there. I'm just there, going just to see what's happening, what people are working with, and all that sort of stuff. So this year I won't be doing that. So but I'll have people coming to me, and then I'm going to have to do, like he said, I'm going to have to try to orient some conversation I've had on Messenger with this person standing in front of me, that I'm going to be like, okay, I can't remember the name. I kind of remember the conversation, and try to put it all together the best I can, especially when it's not people that have bought stuff from me, where I've shipped stuff to them and I've had long conversations with them. It's just people like, oh yeah, you're going to be there. Cool. I'm going to get some of these and these and these. I'll come get you. I'll come hit you up. Okay, cool. Great. And then I'm going to be struggling to put those names and faces together.
Try doing that with brain damage. I've had a couple car accidents and some taekwondo boots to the head and whatnot. And my short-term memory is garbage, but like my long-term memory is great. Or if you hit the right key word, full memory. I remember absolutely everything. But if not, I'll just I'm sorry, I do not remember. I found that most people can just tell that I don't know who the fuck they are when I'm trying to remember who they are. So I finally just got to the point where I try to be honest with, like, I'm sorry, what's your name? What were we talking about? All right, you got to fill me in. And then if I do that, then they generally will hit that key word for me. Like, okay, boom, now I'm with you. Now I got you.
I got a feeling there's going to be way too much of that here, and especially going up to Colubrid Fest too, because I'll be catching a whole group of people up there that I've not ever run into because they don't come all the way down to Daytona. So that's going to be, it's going to be a double hit of different people between the two shows.
The honesty thing seems to be the best bet. Just like, hey, give me a little some more details. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Because most people, I know, when you go talk to somebody in person and you're like, you start saying, hey, it's Chris, we talked and you can just see there's nothing. There's nothing. And you're just like, all right, whatever. Screw me then, I guess. All right. And you walk away kind of like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like I tell people, try to be honest at this point. Like, I'm sorry. Terrible short-term memory. Help me out.
Yeah. And it's even worse when you're at a place like Daytona because you're just in sensory overload. You just talk to 40 people that you haven't talked to. And even people when I see Jake and the guys like that, we're talking all the time otherwise, but still we're there and we're talking in person. So then it just, you never shut up and you lose your voice. You can't remember a damn thing when you're talking, because your just brain can't get back into that Rolodex and find anything important anymore, so it's just going to be that times 10 for me this year, trying to put names and faces together with the table going.
The last 2 hours of now it's Friday. That's one thing I wish Wayne would have figured out with this whole VIP garbage. I guess we can set up on Thursday if we really want to, but he's letting VIP and vendors in at the same time on Friday.
Yeah.
No, give me 2 hours to put my table together before I get people.
Right. Yeah, I know they're setting up. You can set up. At least I'm old friends with George MD that has that whole end there, those ball pythons, and he said he sets everything up on Thursday.
Yeah.
But he's also 20 minutes down the road. I'm like, I don't think we can get in time on Thursday to be able to set up. I might be able to get in time to check in by that 4 o'clock. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to wait till the evening check-in at the hotel room, wherever that ends up being. So.
It kind of sucks for the vendors because Friday has been a pretty spectacular day at both Tinley and Daytona. I've done, when I started doing very well at shows, I did better on Friday than I did most Repticons. I mean, Repticon doesn't run a show right, but if they did, I've done better on Fridays at those shows than I have the full weekend at a Repticon. But I don't want to have to be pricing, labeling, setting up, doing everything, and talking to customers the whole time. Give me at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to get all my stuff as much. My delis are all labeled. Everything is priced. Most of it's just matter of just getting the stuff set up, and especially where I've got all new stuff to set up. I got a new backdrop. I got table cover and new displays. I got everything. So I'm going to be throwing it together, so to speak, for the first time and trying to get everything organized on the table and making it happen because I haven't vended in so many years, much less with what I'm working with now. So I got my wife, so we should be able to slap the table together quick enough to satisfy those that get in right away, hopefully.
My buddy Scott's coming with, and he's got a bunch of. He kept some of my Everglades project from back in the day, and worked in some of Daniel Parker's stuff, and added some other stuff along the way. So he's got white sides and hypos and whatnot he's bringing out. But I like my consistency on my table, so I want all the labels to be the same.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have my label maker, so we'll be labeling all his stuff up there.
I feel you on that.
Even if I have different
my label maker has gone through so many things in the past 3 weeks. I've gone through 5 wheels of label maker things.
Yeah, but I like the same format and the same sticker on them, and I like them. It really drives me crazy when people don't label their stuff or price it. So I want to at least species, sex, price, have at least that much info on there, and I want it to have the same format throughout. So Scott can't make his own labels till we get there, unless he comes over here and makes them ahead of time. And it's not a big deal, but it's just I'd like to get, and some of the stuff isn't going to even shed out for me until the next day or two, so I won't be able to even sex them until the next day or two, plus make the labels and all that. So it's just this show is it's a turtle show that they invited reptile people, or snake people too. I mean, that's really what it is. So like all of us come in.
It wasn't a turtle show back in the day. It was really almost more of a colubrid. Man, it was colubrid heavy back in the early days.
By that I mean the Wayne set up a show for him and his turtle friends to do their show at. Yeah. And he didn't give a damn about when colubrid people or python people have their babies. Yeah, he's like, hey, true. I'm having a show. Come on out if you want to. And whatever. It's going to be in August. Like, Wayne, that's too early for the colubrid people. That's cool. We're doing it in August. Turtle people are fine.
Yeah, most of my stuff's all hatched out. I literally just had like my 2 double clutches just did their sheds this past weekend. And I did some drop feeding on a couple of them, but most of those I'm just going to save. I literally have one just to make a pair match that drop fed into 2 in the group. So I was like, all right, well, you can go because you're a male that'll pair up with that well. So, but those will just get saved and started for Colubrid Fest. And most of the other stuff is already, 2 to 4 months old at this point. So they're all lots of meals in, and some of them have grown almost too much for the deli cups I'm bringing them in at this point.
Must be nice.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I time it on purpose, man. My stuff's breeding early on purpose. I want them going. I want them on the ground so that by the time people are itching for them, I've got stuff already feeding well.
Did you get the super clear delis?
I like the white sided ones that are solid on the sides, so that the snakes aren't like seeing out all over the place. But I don't think they're not super clear. They're fine for me looking through, but I don't know. Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, they're going to be underneath plexiglass. The delis will be underneath plexiglass anyway, so everybody's going to have to look through that shit to see what they're seeing. So it'll work out. It's just I just buy bulk for what I'm using to ship out, and I'm like, I would buy something out of this deli. It'll work,
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
As long as they're actual deli cups, and you're not just some Gladware you wrote some lettering on. I don't understand people that do that. They like you paid all this money for a show, and you couldn't even bring anything close to a proper display that people can see stuff out of.
Yeah. I had to do a whole setup because I hadn't done it this in so long, and I got some friends back home in Orlando that made some nice 8x8 banner backdrop for me, table cover, 3 18 deli cup slants, and it'll be all nice and fresh looking. So it should work out pretty good for what I'm bringing, at least.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah. Just from my perspective, about the show. So last year, to give that, so I'll start with 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, I went in knowing absolutely nobody. I went with my brother, and we were like, it's our first Daytona. Let's go. Let's have fun and see what it's about. This was right after we moved, or maybe not right after we moved. But either way, it was our first Daytona. We didn't know anyone, walking around doing whatever. We went for one day. We did the drive and came back. Then the second time I went and had a big posse of ball python people that I was there with, because that's who I kind of got into the social media stuff with. Now this year, I'm super excited because I have both that side and now all my new Colubrid friends, which is mostly thanks to doing this podcast. So I cannot wait for this weekend, especially meeting you guys. Jason, me and you have sort of met. I think we spoke very briefly last Daytona. I think I just commented how cool the tiger rats were, and that was about the extent of it. But so just meeting everyone in general, and obviously I bought a couple snakes from Billy. That's how me and him really met. But yeah, it's gonna be a super fun time for me on my end.
Yeah, I was over there with the Billy crew last year, but I guess Alvaro got my table this year because I got my application in a couple days late. So I'm in the small room this year, but I'll be right across from my buddy Ron St. Pierre's right across from me. So it'll be fun to throwing things at him all weekend and just having some chaos over there.
Yeah.
But Yeah, no, the whole. I mean, I guess the bright side is I won't have the crowd of 30 people behind the table if not up here with the Billy crew.
Yeah.
They had a crowd there a few times. I walked out behind the table and came back, and I had nowhere to sit down. I'm like, huh, this is different. But no, it's nice to have a bunch of people around, though. It makes a much more social gathering. Those guys just have a nice tight group that seems to run together.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know any of the guys that are vending around my little, because I'm in an aisle where they broke the aisle up into two small islands. It's like you come in the entrance and you go right, and it's like one aisle down, and they took the aisle and they broke it in half into two small islands. And I'm in there, and it's like
The main room or the second small room?
in the big room. And they broke up one of the rows on the first section of the row, and I'm on one of those. I'm kind of like, from my table, I just kind of look to the left, and like George MD's table is like right over, kind of diagonal in front of me. So I don't know a couple of guys, I say guys, the couple of vendors on the other tables on that little island. I think two of them are ball guys, and I don't remember what the other one was. I looked back months ago and I don't remember, but I didn't recognize their names or anything, so I don't know any of those folks.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't look until someone just mentioned that, hey, I'm going to be your neighbor, and good to see I'll be near you. I was like, oh, I haven't looked at all. Let me go see where I'm at. Who I'm around. I know I'm going to be behind Da Vinci Boa, so.
Oh, that's cool. Matthew Blackburn works that table with him, if I'm not mistaken.
I'll have that whole Da Vinci Boa crew there instead, so I'll have a different stack of social people hanging out there.
Yeah, I'm not into boas, but I can say they had a real impressive display last year.
Yeah.
Because you walked into that room. Yeah, you walked into that room, and one, they have a huge table and a ton of animals, but some of the animals on that table were stellar. And again, I'm really not that into boas, but definitely some cool stuff there.
Yeah, they got some incredible looking. Some of those IMGs and stuff are just black and green, mossy looking pattern to them. Like how did that even happen? Like, they're insane looking.
Yeah. Cool. Now I wanted to ask, what are maybe some of your guys's expectations in general for the show? Going into it, I don't know if you have any, if you've made some pre-sales ahead of time, anything like that. Anything you're looking to buy, or if you know of something, or what's the one animal, if you saw it, you have to grab it?
I need, of all things, a albino male Nelson's. I realized, like, the last couple of years, my Nelson's females, which are young females I raised up out of my own production, have done terrible for production. And I was talking to my buddy Scott about it. I'm like, man, what the hell's going on here? Like, it's a damn Nelson's milk snake. Why am I not getting fertility on these? Like, I know my building's cursed here, but this is ridiculous. And then I'm sitting there looking at the animal. I'm like, wait a second. I got that before I went to Chicago. That was 2003. So he's 21 years old. That's why he's not doing well. All right. So yeah, of all things, I needed him Nelson's milk snake of all, my big targets for this show. A few other like real simple things, man. I'm looking at maybe grabbing a leucistic black rat. Males too, so I should be my simple low hanging fruit targets should be easy access on those.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm not looking for much. I've got a couple of things coming from some of the guys, like I usually do every year, between trades and whatnot. And I've got a couple of things I'm keeping my eye out for if I sell enough stuff and have spending money. I need some female white lips. I need a male Timor python. That's probably it. I don't need any more colubrids because I've got plenty hatching, and I got a partner that I'll be picking up some snakes right after Daytona, as they're all starting to hatch right now, and I'll have plenty of more freshly born rat snakes ahead of Colubrid Fest. So I'm
nice.
Just hoping I can move a decent number of animals down there. this coming weekend. We'll see what the reception is like for my stuff. There's not much of what I do specifically at Daytona, because people usually just come to me to find stuff that I keep. So, whether or not the reception will be, if the interest is there for, water snakes and rat snakes, that, and then there's I got a few locality morphs of just stuff that I've been bringing to culture. So we'll see. I sold a lot of like the A-male Everglades really well, like the first 2 years, and so I'll see how, bringing out the A-male pale sides and the pale sides, making them available too. See how that goes. I don't know. You just never know. I mean, for me, not having vended in years, I don't know what the reception will be like, but it seems like from conversations with people that they're real interested in coming to the table. But people coming to the table and people buying things, two different things. So,
Well, my kind of thoughts for you, just based on what animals you have and what shows I've seen, and again, my kind of opinion on shows is really just seeing what goes on in Florida. I feel like Daytona and Colubrid Fest are your two best opportunities to market your stuff, because those are the big shows where people are going and looking for unique things you don't see every day, aka not the ball pythons. There are plenty of people there for that, but people are there for the other stuff too, because you don't see them every day.
It's true. I mean, I don't see them at at the shows that I rarely ever go to. I went to one in the fall because there happened to have been a show literally like 3 miles down the street from my house, one of the show me shows. And I was like, well, I've got a few babies. Let's go get a table. And I just literally, I just had deli cups on the table because I didn't have anything. I was like, see how it goes. And I didn't sell anything until one guy that was already following me came over from Mississippi, and he got a couple pairs of things like in the last hour of the show. Like, it's just not, the market for my stuff isn't around me here, and I know that. There's people are just into different stuff. That cresteds and balls and stuff like that sell well here, and then other odd men things, I guess. I don't know, but it's not. It's not
that's
my
every show.
It probably is. I don't know. It's always been around here for sure.
It's the familiarities. People aren't familiar with stuff, and my buddy Scott worked at a pet store, and I told him years ago, I'm like, hey man, get into the store things that you really care about, that you're passionate about, and you'll sell them out of the store. And if you don't care about the animal, you're never going to be able to sell it unless someone just came in for that animal. And it's the same thing at shows. I want to make money at the shows, but at the end of the day, shows for me really are advertising. Mm-hmm. And the best form of advertising is getting in front of someone's face and showing them the animals and letting them take that moment to come look at them and have an interest in them, to see them in person. And that's the biggest thing. Is some people, like I was talking about the other day, was it the West Sanderson? I can't remember what the locality is on them, but the Sanderson gray banded kings that are nearly jet black with those crazy orange saddles in pictures look like garbage. I saw tons of them and I was like, I am so not into this. This is not my thing. Then I went out to Texas, went and stopped in the hotel when Roy still had it, and saw his in the hotel. I was like, oh my God, that thing is incredible. I think it's a lot of stuff. It's the same thing. Like, their pictures don't do justice to some of these animals, and you really need to be able to show these animals in person, and also yourself in person, and what your interest is. Yeah. And that's always been my goal at the shows. The fact that I can make money at the shows is a definite big deal, but making money after the shows is even more important to me, because that means that the message I put out there was received, and people got a chance to see him. Maybe they didn't come there to buy whatever species from me, but in seeing them and talking to me and having that moment with me and the animal, maybe holding the animal, it ate into their brain. They couldn't get away from it, and now they're contacting me.
Yeah.
So, and with you have a bunch of stuff where you're kind of like the guy that has that animal. If it's not you, there's 2 or 3 other people in the country for some of the stuff.
And we work together, most of us. We each got stuff, because I've either seeded them or they've gotten their hands on stuff and I've got some of theirs too. And it's just, it's a small group of us really just trying to wave a flag and say, hey, look, these are cool too.
Yeah.
There's other cool things out there,
If you get that hook in someone, then chances are they're coming back to you if you don't do it at the
Yep.
show. So like I see people get upset they don't do well at a show. Like you're saying, you went and you did 2 sales or 1 sale at a show. Well, did you get to contact people? Did you talk to them? And if you did, then how many of those came back later? Like it's hard to keep track of. If you don't, like you say, even people you do know, you don't know who they are at the show half the time. Never mind people you don't know that come up to your table and then contact you. I've had newer people tell me, "Hey, I saw you at this or that show, and I couldn't stop thinking about that blackhead or that whatever."
Yeah.
And I just, I had to get it. And it was, with some of the blackheads, I've had guys come back to me like 4 and 5 years later and be like, hey, I've been thinking about that snake for 4 years now. I really need to get that snake from you. I've been saving up, and here we go. And that to me is just awesome. Because that's also an animal that's going to be taken care of better too.
Yeah. I'm sure you get a lot of that with your Spilotes, because like I know just being at the past several shows, like everybody talks. Did you go see Jason's? Did you see Jason's Spilotes? Because like they glow compared to anything else, colubrid wise. I mean they're prettier.
I really wish I produced some of those this year.
I said it a while ago. Honestly, Jason's tiger rats were my showstopper last year. In my opinion, that was the best animal I saw at the whole show. Just in terms of uniqueness and how nice they looked. I mean, yeah, that did it for me.
What's funny about those is they were in an auction at Daytona. I want to say 2008 or 2010. Somewhere in that time frame, and I didn't even realize they were there, and actually had never even heard of that particular the Tamaulipas locality of the tiger rats. I like tiger rats, but all the tiger rats I knew were the import Guyana South American animals, which we're pretty sure are going to be a completely different species once someone spends the money to do the genetics on the entire range of them, which is probably never going to really happen. They're not sexy enough for people to jump onto and grab them in the scientific field. But anyways, my buddies, Gavin and Brian, were like, you were there and you didn't bid on them. You didn't get them. You didn't see them. I'm like, dude, I went out to dinner. I didn't even know they were in the auction. Like I'd never even heard about them. So I never even saw them. And then my buddy showed me pictures. I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is that? He's like, yeah, no, dude, that's what I'm talking about. That's a tiger rat. I'm like, no, dude, like black and white.
Yeah.
No, this is what we're talking about. And then that was at that point a dream snake that I thought I would never be able to attain. And then my buddy John Anderman produced them, and that silly guy was going to send me break up a pair that he had of the animals he produced just to be able to get me an animal in my hands. And I'm like, dude, absolutely not. You're the only ones produced these in years besides Gladys Porter Zoo. You hold on to those, and I'll get the next gen. The next gen comes in, and the first pair of them cooks in a rack that malfunctions. Like the highest of highs followed within a month later of the lowest of lows of, I just want to fucking sell my collection at this point. I was so pissed. And then the following year, he managed to produce them again. And thankfully, I was able to get them at that point, and then get the animals for my buddy Gavin after he passed, and put together a collection. I bought out Black Pearl's animals. And now I've got a sausage fest of like 5 males to 2 females, but hopefully next year I can make some more magic happen with them.
Yeah. Sure.
But that's one of those things where like the passion there was just like I'm saying, someone else turned me on to the idea of them, and like, hey dude, you have to see these things. And that was Gavin.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, there's so many of those Spilotes that when they used to come in, I remember back in like, I don't know, early mid 2000s, seeing some of the ones coming in from, we'll just say Central America, Nicaragua, whatever country they were coming out of back then, that were just like all speckled, dorsal striped, like really cool ones, and like nobody put the time into them, so they don't exist anymore.
I got a reverse trio. Cool. Of the Honduran locality, but I didn't import them from Europe. So
yeah, they were coming in for a while because we could see them for a couple years. I mean, they weren't expensive back then. It was just everybody was into whatever was trendy at the time, and nobody was, really putting the effort into establishing them and breeding them, and it's unfortunate because those don't seem to come in like that. Those interesting ones that aren't just like the typical minimally banded, northern South America locales.
The Nicaraguan exports that came in recently, a handful, by handful I mean like 2 to 4 striped individuals seem to have come in, but I'm not sure. Some of those animals I noticed, like if you really pay close attention to them and kind of pay attention to the pictures, it's the same animal popping from this guy to this guy to this guy. So I'm not sure if it really was 4 of them or if just different wholesale flippers flipped them and just jumped the price. The same thing happened with there was a striped Bacillinotus that came in. I stayed far, like if I even have a hint that it might not be 100% legal, I stay as far away as possible. I don't need the state or the feds coming in and taking my animals and housing them for 6 months and handing me back a third of what I gave them because I'm being investigated for some shit I didn't know I was involved in. So I stay as far away from anything that's close to illegal as possible. The striped Bacillinotus, the only place I've seen that locality is Mexico. So I'm like, nope, I'm not touching them. But those I saw hop from hand to hand to hand to hand. And I'm like, I would love to get them, but I'm not touching them if I don't know 100% they're legal. And somebody's like, oh, I'll give you paperwork on them. I'm like, yeah, I'm not happy with that. I don't need the stress or the attention from any government agency.
Yeah. Gotcha. Something you actually touched on before, and I'm going to read out exactly what I wrote because it's pretty much what you said. I wrote, selling animals and making money is cool, but what else makes the experience of vending worthwhile? And I could say for me, what kind of going back to what you said, it happened to me before too. Even in my limited experience of vending, I showed off the scaleless leucistic Texas rats at a show once, and I think it took 6 months, but someone came back to me from on Facebook. They took my card and messaged me later. And, for someone like me, it's selling a $600 animal is kind of a big deal, especially with my smaller collection. So, giving that experience, like that's something that you can't replicate if you're not vending and really passionate about it. And I always say exuding your passion about your animals on your table, because otherwise no one's really going to know. The common folk that's coming into the show is really not going to know.
Yeah, if you don't care, no one else is going to care. But yeah, and that's the other thing is an expensive animal is not there's not a set price point as an expensive snake or lizard or turtle or anything else. They're all expensive to somebody. A $20 corn snake is way more than the guy who thinks he sees them all the time is ever going to pay for one. It's just how it is. So the price point, certain people, if you get that hook in them, it might not be that they need the 6 months to make the money up. It might be they need the 6 months to justify the money in their head for that particular animal, whatever that price point is. $60, $600, $6,000.
Yep.
And other guys, it's like if it's available, you have it, and there's somebody you're somebody they want to deal with. Like I've got over 20 years in this business. I've got one guy I can think of who has a hair across his ass about me. That's because he ripped me off and I didn't let it go. And I talked a whole bunch of shit about him. I'm not even going to bring him up anymore because I don't think he's even in the hobby anymore. But outside of that, no one can say a bad word about me. Or if they're lying. But with that reputation, that people are like, hey, I want this animal, but I know you're going to produce it. And I've had literally guys tell me, hey, I'm waiting on you to produce this. I don't want to buy it from that guy. And that's kind of the best thing I can ever get out of this hobby is someone saying, hey, this is what I want. And I know you have it, and screw that guy, because I want it from you instead of from him. Not that your animals are better or anything else. It's just, I don't like him and I like you better. That's awesome. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of crap talking in this hobby where people want to just run everybody else down. I mean, I do it myself as well on certain people, because there's certain people rub you the wrong way, and I'm not shy about it. But if you get someone's confidence and you can keep it, that's amazing. in my mind, and that's why I try to do everything I can to back all my animals up. I'm not going to get into how detailed I get with it, but I got guys who I know will have my back till the end of time just because of how I treated them.
Yeah.
And that's just how you got to deal with people. It's not a long time ago on the King Snake forums when I was just flipping stuff that was imported in. I was doing the jobber thing and dealing with the guys down in Miami and doing all that garbage. Even then, I backed all my animals up when they were animals I just picked up from the wholesaler and brought to a pet store. I would back them up for a month. If they die within a month, I'm still going to replace them for you every single time. And so, but all goes back to somebody that said, hey, it's not how people deal with you when things go smoothly. It's how people deal with you when things go bad. It's how you handle yourself when things go wrong. And if you can't handle yourself properly and take care of your people when things go wrong, then you're just not a good person. And there's guys in this hobby, or there's people, a ton of people in this hobby that get animals from certain guys that are terrible people. But as long as the animals are coming in and they seem to get their hands on some of the rare stuff that comes in the country at a decent enough price, people are happy to deal with them. It's like, this guy is what I term a shitbag. Like, this guy is just a garbage. You know that. Why give him any money ever? Oh, he gets all this stuff. Who cares? If he gets it, someone else can get it. There's animals I won't touch because I know they came through certain guys' hands. Like, I don't want to support them even 3 people down the line. But there's not enough people in the hobby that are willing to take that stance on people that are terrible people. And I think we would have a better hobby if people would do that. Like, defend and support the guys who are good and take care of everything they can and do the best they can by people. But there's so many terrible people in this hobby and businesses in this hobby that just, if you know the dirt,
Yeah.
There are guys that have money or made money that just have bought their, I don't know, their, not fame, they bought their acceptance by the hobby. It's like, man, nah. Why is your wholesale wild caught all of a sudden long-term captive animal the same price as other people's captive born animals? Because your name's attached to it? Kiss my ass, dude. It's a wild caught animal.
Yeah. No, I getcha.
Without saying names.
Yeah. No names get said here. It's all right. We keep it we keep it anonymous. But yeah, guys, just in general, I can't say enough how excited I am for this year's Daytona. I think it's going to be a really good show. And I feel like after talking to a lot of you guys about last year and like Justin and some of those guys, I think I missed a lot of animals at the show. Like, I either looked too fast or didn't look close enough. And
I do, and I've walked the show repeatedly every year. And like, somebody's like, I'll even find out about it on Facebook afterward. Like, oh, this was here. I'm like, what do you mean? I would have grabbed that in a heartbeat just because it was there. And
one of my buddies, Kevin Sheehan, my good Texas rat friend, he texted me, or I don't remember. I want to say he texted me, hey, there's a pair of albino scaleless Texas rats at the show. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, I walked this whole place. I did not see that. He said, go over here in the other room. And sure enough, I walked over there and I found them. I was like, oh, interesting. I think that's what happened. I could be making that up, but I'm pretty sure that's how it went.
Sheehan's good people.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of those and pictures of those, like, after the show and being like, where was that? Like, I didn't see any of that. Like,
I was so busy Friday and Saturday. I missed Tony D even at the show last year, and then he was slinging things at good prices. And like I wanted to pick up Trans-Pecos rat snakes last year. It's just that I don't see enough of them represented in the hobby, and they're such a cool species. I wanted to grab some, and he was selling some, I think adults even. And I'm like, what? I guess he had a death in the family, couldn't be there. I think his father had died or something, and I didn't even see him. Never mind his table. Never mind his animals. I didn't see him as a person. And that was right by where I walked in. My whole load in and load out was right by his table. And I stopped and I talked to the rest of the guys at the table. And completely missed a table I was standing in front of just because I was trying to get to where I was going and trying to get my stuff in there. So yeah, it's easy at the shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And there's some of the tables you'll think, going past them, that's like, oh, they've just got these, they've just got this, not my cup of tea. But there's stuff there that you're missing that you wouldn't have expected to be there because they're mostly just selling
My table last
hogs
year
or balls or whatever.
My table last year was the opposite of that. Everybody came by and looked at the damn tiger rats, and they didn't see anything else on the table. And I'm like, like, hey, does anybody see any Cribos at the show? I'm like, I got Cribos right here. Well, no, I'm looking for Mexican. Yeah, I got Mexicans right here.
Yeah.
Like, no, I went by your table. You didn't have any. I'm like, yes, I did. They're like, no, you didn't, bro.
The light is so bright at your table coming off the Spilotes that they can't see anything else for like 2 tables away.
Those lights are the key, man. If you're going to keep doing shows, get those lights. Those things are gold.
Well, it's not even lights. I'm just saying the way those things glow. I mean, those things are just so, such an intense yellow, orange, gold color that like they're just, they just stand out on the table. Like you can see it from the other side of the aisle. So it's like everybody just goes, "Oh my God, look at that thing! It's great!" And then they walk away because their eyes are burned from looking at them.
Every previous show I brought tigers to, I sold tigers. Those sold online, so they didn't sell at the show, and no one bought tigers at the show because the other stuff I had on the table looked like garbage by comparison. And no one wanted them for the price point on them. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Those are really great animals. Like, yeah, but I want all that orange. I'm like, yeah, those have a ton of orange. And they're like, no, they don't. Then I showed pictures of them later on. They're like, oh, those are great. So what's the price point of those? Oh, that's great. I like that price point. I'm like, you were at the show with me, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, that was a lesson, man. That was a weird, absolute crap ton of attention for those animals, which was awesome. But it totally blocked the rest of the table with 2 animals on the table, which was nuts.
Yeah. I mean, and some people are just laser focused like that. Like, I mean, I was dead set on the Volanti Billy had on the table that like I hardly absorbed what else was on his table last year. Like looking back now, he had a couple Baroni. He had, I think there were some carpets on the table. And like, I was like, nope, I see the, the porfs on the table. And like, those are a lot cooler looking in person than they are in pictures. And I was like, those I gotta have. So
yeah. He's gonna have a nice table spread again this year.
Oh yeah. I saw what Matt's sending him. I'm gonna be real tempted by that Mandarin, but we'll see how the weekend goes.
Yeah, no, it whether or not anybody has a good show, because everybody's saying, oh, the economy, blah, 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 this and that. Daytona is one of those shows where people have a nest egg that they bring with them for the show. Mm-hmm. They squirrel away money for the year for the show. So Daytona, Tinley is another one where they do the same thing. So I think people are going to have their allotted spending money they're bringing with them, and they're going to spend it. Just whether or not you're going to get that money is another question as a vendor. In some shows, some vendors will do no sales whatsoever, and the guy next to them will do $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. Like it's just a hit or miss deal.
Yeah, well, never know. A lot of where I hear the complaining is, and I hate to kind of shit talk, it is the ball python community, but like you're making the same animals as 20 other guys that live within a 50-mile radius. It's like, what do you expect? You want sales when you're not, doing anything special per se. There are some times where, we say, you have to put on a friendly face and be personable at a show. But like, there's also an aspect of you have to have something different. Like even I know with some of the animals I'm working with, it's like no one in Florida that I know of is working scaleless Texas rats the way I am with the quality I have. Like it's just not. So, there's those factors too.
Yeah, the ball python market is not something I have anything to say about because I don't know it at all. I've been the pyramid scheme it's failing guy for 20 years now. Like I thought I was going to fail 20 years ago. So I have no clue what's going on with that market. But at the end of the day, that's kind of how it's been for years, and it's just weird how it seemed to have. We knew it was coming forever, but for 20 years we've been saying it's going to fail. Next year it's going to collapse. Next year it's going to collapse, and finally it did kind of collapse. But there's so many people who have so much money invested in it, they don't want to let it collapse. So some of them are, I think they're kind of still boosting it up. So I think there's still going to be sales in the ball pythons as well.
Oh yeah.
And at the end of the day, a ball python is a pretty great pet snake.
Of course.
The investment side of it was always the thing. They're not my cup of tea. I like something that's a little more psychotic and spastic and bounces around the cage and displays well and has personality. But if you want a snake that you can handle and isn't going to bite you and is placid and you can deal with, that they're a great animal. They're great for introductory animals. There's always going to be a market there for them. I just don't know if they're ever going to be able to recover that giant marketplace they had with them. But like I said, they've got so much money into it as a community. I don't think they're going to be willing to let it fail just because there's so many people that are going to lose money there.
We're going to see a lot of people drop out of it in the next couple of years. It's already happening.
But this happened previously.
I'm sure, yeah.
Not to this extent, not to this scale, but there's been little dips in the market, and all of us that know it all, that saw where it was going, said, hey, it's all going to crash and nobody's going to have any money in this. And then a couple guys, something new came out, the interest got turned around again. It's a personality thing. Like, I was never a fan of Barchek, but his personality and what he brought with people into the community can't be denied. He did a great job in that regard on one side of things. I didn't like the snake bites version of what he put out, the bites. Like, I was working at Herp Society trying to bring an intelligent group of people in, and he was trying to bring in the spastic group of people, and we've got the result of that in other people today. But he brought people to the community, and he was, I think, a big portion of keeping that ball python community afloat as well. So there's even when there's people I don't particularly care for, like, you got to admit if they're doing a good job, they're doing a good job. And I think they need someone else with that kind of vibe to them in that community to step forward to kind of bring some more attention into the ball pythons. But at the same time, when you've got some of the morphs popping into PetSmart for less than they're going for on the tables at shows because the big production companies are producing them and dropping them off, I mean, that kind of kills the theory of your pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
It seems like some of the guys that have like narrowed their focus on the particular morphs they're going to work with and just really tried to exemplify what they're doing. Those are the ones that I kind of noticed just walking through the building that maybe seem like they're going to be the ones sticking around a little bit because they're not just chasing every single morph and every different combo they can throw together. They're producing cleaner ones of more limited spectrum of morphs.
That's where my focus is shifting on the ball pythons, especially, is like I'm working on, and I don't want to make it seem negative, but like I'm selling off a good portion of my ball pythons because, one, I want to have a little more fun with the colubrids and I'm getting a little more interest out of them. But two, I would say I'm just not as passionate about all the projects. But there's one I'm working that I'm pretty excited about, and that's what I plan on, like you're saying, making high quality examples, keeping that going and pushing the envelope on genetic combos and stuff like that. So
my big knock on the ball python market wasn't, I mean, the money chasing. We all want to make money, so I can't fault anybody for chasing money, but it was the taking guys who I had a lot of interactions with, that I a lot of respect for, that were doing great things with different colubrids or different snakes I liked, different odd pythons or whatever, and then they went all ball python for the money. And that just like, I feel like I lost, I had some breakups I had to go through, lost some friends that, all of a sudden they were voting for the wrong sports team or something. It was just like a weird vibe, and you couldn't have conversation with the guys anymore. That was my ball python issue. There was some good guys I would go talk to and be like, hey man, so what's going on with your Hondurans? Oh, I got rid of all of them. I'm just doing this. And they start getting the ball python lingo with me. And I'm like, I don't know what you just said to me. The words out of your mouth might as well have been another language. I don't know what you just talked about. It's like, oh no, you really got to get into these things. No, I don't. Trust me, I don't. I think I was, like I said, I was flipping garbage from the import guys way back in the day. I could have been absolutely.
Oh, I think he froze. I don't know.
Starlink got to him.
Oh, did I lose you guys?
Is he back? No, you're back now.
Yeah, I just dropped for 1 second. But yeah, I never dug the ball pythons in the first place, but I had multiple opportunities with guys that wanted to go in and buy when there was like a stage where they were like, you could buy, I think, a couple hundred lot for $3 a piece. And then we were going to go through the 300 or 600 or 1,000 animals, pull out the good stuff, flip the rest for $6, and then keep doing that game. And then it was just, you're buying with $3, you're buying with $6, you're buying with $12. And guys were doing that and they were making good money on it. I just didn't have the interest. Even when I had the funding available, so here's the problem. What if we get stuck with 300 ball pythons? What then? And the guys go, we'll keep them, we grow them up, we'll see what we can do with them. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And that was always my my problem with them. Like I rather like the water snakes, everything else has just way more personality.
Yeah. I kept ball pythons a time or two years and years ago, like in the early 90s and stuff like that. And I mean, there's I can appreciate them, like by all means, but again, I don't know. They're just, I don't know.
The coolest ball python I ever had was ironically caught like 1.5 miles from where I live now, crossing the road. And it was like a 6-foot female that was just a voracious monster of a ball python. And I kept her for about 4 months. And I just threw her into a 55-gallon aquarium with a bunch of branches, and she climbed all over that damn cage. The least ball python I've ever seen in my life. She would launch out of the cage at me for food. I love that snake. But then somebody offered me like $300 for her. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Here you go. I don't love her $300 worth. Because that was like the most expensive snake I ever sold in my life at that time. But it's like, oh, it's a 6-foot female. Oh my God, you know how much how many whatevers we can make with this? I'm like, no, I don't. Give me $300, dude. Absolutely. I found $300 on the road. Hell yeah.
That's pretty funny.
I mean, I know when I walk by George's table and go talk to him, like some of the stuff that he produces, I just go, damn, those things are mighty fine. Like he's just got some incredible.
Yeah, George has some nice animals.
God, like every time I go by it, my wife's kind of soft on a couple of them, and I go, one of these days something's going to break, and I'm going to end up with some of these somehow. And I don't know how I'm going to take that, but whatever.
George gets quail from me for his Crebos and his tree monitors. And he has a whole bunch of cool shit at home he doesn't bring to the shows.
Oh yeah, he's got a great collection at home, and man, the stuff that he used to breed back in the day, all the turtles and other pythons and rat snakes and stuff, and God, he used to have lots of cool stuff, and he still has lots of cool stuff now. They just don't come to the shows.
Well, the first time he contacted me for quail, I was like, bro, yeah, I'll meet you at the Repticon. You guys still there?
Yeah,
you're good.
My whole screen just died for a Norton antivirus. There we go. Norton popped up here. Yeah, the first time I talked to him, I'm like, so you need the quail? He's like, yeah, I got this, and this, and this to feed. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, I'll be at the next Repticon. I'm like, oh, awesome. That's great. Like, he gave me his list of his animals he was going to feed these things to. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, so where's your table? He's like, oh, when you walk in the front door, hang a left. I'll be over here. You'll see my banner. I'm like, all right, great. And I walk in, and I saw the banner, but I had walked by his table once already because it was all ball pythons. And I'm like, yeah, that ain't him.
Yeah.
And I came back around like, wait a second, damn, you're right here, dude. He's like, yeah, I told you the big banner. I knew who you were when you walked by. I thought you were just like giving me time to talk to my customer. I'm like, no, dude, I didn't think I was looking for the Crebos and the tree monitors and all the cool shit you had.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. He's always had some cool stuff over the years.
But no, he said the ball pythons make him his money, and that's what
Yep.
Like I said, I don't fault anybody for making money.
Yep. And he does. He does a really good job. He streamlines the morphs that he's working with, and just tries to get the best bang out of what he's working with. You don't go to his table and there's not 300 morphs that are all kind of half dirty because they're all mixed together. It's like he just got certain ones, and they're just like, and they bang, they pop, man, when you walk by his table. And then, I mean, everybody's got them in acrylic, so it's not like anybody's looks a whole lot different than the others, but what he produces is just real standout.
Yeah, he just needs to bring the Crebos and the tree monitors to the shows, and then I'll be really excited to see them.
I think there might be Crebos at this show. I know he hatched out some.
I'm bringing some too.
Nice.
I'm bringing some too.
I always joke to him because he's usually got some gray bands on his table. One little container, one little section in an acrylic, he's got some gray bands usually sitting in. But that's usually about it.
He did actually. You're right. He did say he had gray bands too.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Past couple of years, he's had some on the table. It'll just usually be one little acrylic with a handful of them in there. But that's the only thing. I mean, it's.
I think because of my thing of it's ball pythons I walk on by, I think I've ever seen them.
Yeah, I know at Daytona he's usually got the past couple of years he's had some there. So, and I'm guessing he'll have some of the Crebos there this time because they just hatched out the past couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah. He just grabs a refill on quail for me to feed some to various things, but he had. I wish I remember what he said now. He had some really good luck with a different method to get his stuff feeding. Oh, he just Dawn dish soaped the pinkies and threw them in with his gray bands, and they ate for him, no problem. So yeah, I didn't need to do quail or anything. All right.
Yeah. All right, guys. I don't want to hold you guys all night, but this has been a great episode. One thing I want to leave on is I hope to see a lot of colubrids at Daytona. I think it's definitely trending in that direction. I think perhaps over the years we'll keep seeing more and more of them, and that show just become more diverse, because I think that's what it's starting. Well, I know it has been, but like even more so, like getting known for. Like I keep saying that everywhere. I just think the diversity is great. So I really hope that makes it become a super hub of a reptile show for the year. But yeah,
hope so too.
Yeah, it's always been a pretty decent Colubrid show, and Tinley's the other one that does really well, bringing a bunch of stuff in, and Colubrid Fest would be another great event. So I think we're kind of trending back towards the direction of getting spoiled with colubrids again, which is great because there's a lot of stuff. Hopefully there's some of the guys pop out of the woodwork that have been working with some of these species we don't even hear about anymore in the hobby. There's a bunch of stuff we lost, unfortunately, in the last 20 years, and there's inevitably some old guy that's he's just been kicking this or that species for the last 20 years, and hopefully they'll show up and bring some stuff in, because that's always the greatest thing is you see some of these old timers just pop up with some, like, do you still have those? That kind of vibe.
Yeah.
As long as it fits within my husbandry like setup and what works for me, I'd really like to eventually have something that's a little more on the rare side, something I could really challenge myself with and see if it's something I can help foster back into the hobby if it's not as common,
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be that it's not that it's rare, that it's just not common in the hobby.
That's the key, because I mean, for the most part, nothing I keep is rare, but there's also not much of it in the hobby.
True.
It's just a matter of what interests me is common animals and showing like, hey, these are really cool, and they're from right over here, or right down this way, and they're, these two different types are 4 counties apart and they look completely different. That kind of stuff. It's just a matter of finding stuff that people aren't already hyperbreeding, and finding, and being able to bring some cool, interesting stuff, even if it's within, the realm of the same stuff, but it's just a little different in one way or another from a different area or whatever the case may be.
Or even the stuff that's ultra common, but no one's breeding it because it is ultra common, and then it gets shut down, like a bunch of the lizards out of Africa, the sandfish and stuff, that the Schneider's.
God.
Those things have always been cool, but they were so common, no one wanted to touch them. To get the curly tail lizards. There's some of those that are just spectacular, and they're so brave in the wild as it is to begin with that you just get somebody kind of dealing with them a little bit more and just showing them hand feeding and stuff. I think those will be one of those next things that'll pop, especially some of the different island species of them. We just saw them down in down to West Palm today, because they're north of me in Cocoa, but they're not anywhere in my immediate area, and they don't really pop up in Orlando, but they're in Cocoa and they're in Cape Canaveral. But just
I
going
have them
down there
everywhere here.
Well, they're all the babies are out right now.
Yeah,
and having babies do push-ups at you, they're just like the most adorable little thing, and they're just such little badasses. But because they're so common, no one wants to touch them. And my buddy Scott's saying, like, dude, I went to this barbecue joint, and there's a group of them, and there's this of the group that are there, some of the babies are just like high red. He says, I'm really thinking about going back and trying to grab some of these things, just to try to get something else going, or get some of the ones from, I don't remember, he was mentioning one of the islands, but anyways, the idea being the same. It's just any of these little common to the hobby, but not commonly bred. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that can disappear overnight. Emperor scorpions. Yeah. My God, like somebody told me they were getting like $60 a piece on emperor scorpions. I'm like, are you kidding me? Those, they were like 50 cents to a piece, or like you get them, 20 for $5 or whatever. Like, are you kidding me? And he goes, yeah, no, they quit exporting them, so now they're super rare. No one ever bothers to learn how to breed them.
Wow.
It's like, what? Are you kidding me? And he's like, no, for I don't know if it's still the case, but for whatever that time frame was, this guy made thousands of dollars on emperor scorpions because no one had them available. But it just kind of goes to show that if you're, again, back to if you're truly interested and you have the passion for it, that's all you need to sell it.
Yeah.
And especially if it's something that's already being sold, but you're like, hey, mine's captive born. It's that much cleaner, that much less likely to have parasite loads, all that fun stuff. Then it's going to be a better, I just got dog hair all over my face. It's going to be a better animal for everybody that gets involved with it. So rare isn't necessarily the key. It's underbred is what we need to be looking out for.
Yep. There's so many species over the years that, you see them coming in for a period of time, and then nobody's really put the effort into them to keep them around. Plated lizards, all the zonosaurs and gonosaurs, like all those guys, like, where are those, man? Those things are some cool lizards. Nobody's really putting any effort into them. And so many others that are just like that are been cheap over the years, and or at least not very expensive, that really some effort could be put into that stuff. And there's plenty of snakes that fit into that category too.
The ultra common savanna monitor.
Yeah, exactly.
A handful of people have bred those in the US at all. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not that it's necessarily super difficult to breed, but also not many people have bred it.
Right. And the millions that have been exported from Africa over the years, and nobody's taken the time to really put any effort into them domestically.
There's like I said, there's a handful of guys. I can't remember the guy's name that's been doing it for a few years, and he's picked a few different locality types that he's likes these different traits on them, and he's been producing that line of them. But not one guy or two guys or three guys is not nearly enough for a species that we see those numbers come in.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to see, as those get blacklisted from import because of the pressure the hobby puts on them, and more so the pressure the skin trade puts on them, but the pressure the export market puts on them out of their native country, that's when they're going to get shut down. And the guys who have been figuring it out, they'll be the kings.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for some pre-Daytona conversation. I really appreciate you guys being on here. And when this does get posted, the link to both of your social medias will be in the description and show notes and whatever. And to my audience, if you guys aren't following them, I hope you are, or I hope you are now. And I hope you're coming to Daytona because you can meet all three of us and it's going to be a great time. And yeah, all that. So once again, thank you guys. Any final thoughts you want to throw out there into the realm?
Come see me in the small room. I'm going to be in the little room this year.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're not.
See me in the big room.
Yeah, you won't have the problem. I was there 2 or 3 years ago in the small room, and they were. I literally walked out front because there was nobody coming in the room, and the lady out front was like, "Art show over here, reptile show over there."
Oh my god!
I'm like, "What?" And they were highlighting the art show. And so I had people that were looking for me. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I'm over here in the other room." They're like, "What? The art show room?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, the ladies." And that's why I went up there. He's like, "Yeah, the lady said it's the art show over there only." I went and told Wayne. He's like, "No one's saying that." I'm like, "Dude, this lady right here." Well, that's not what she meant. I don't care what she meant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be in the small room. And the sales pitch that Wayne wanted to go with was there's no ball python breeders in the small room, but then somebody told him that would be a problem, so he didn't go with it. So he didn't want to. Believe it or not, Wayne didn't want to offend anybody. And if you know Wayne, you know that's hilarious.
That's a joke in itself.
Yeah. All right. Well, after talking with Chris at the beginning of this, I think I'm going to have this come out Thursday night so people can listen to it on their travels, on their way to Daytona, or, at night or something at the show. We'll do that, the non-Sunday episode for once. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, let's just wrap up real quick. Guys, audience, thank you so much for listening or watching tonight's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. This was the Colubrid Corruption Podcast, episode number 35, featuring Chris Montross of Dark Horse Herpetoculture and Jason Hood of Snakes Unlimited. Both these guys will be vending at Daytona once again. Make sure you come check it out, and I'll be there in attendance, so come feel free to say hi to me. Otherwise, guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on today's podcast. Throw that like out there. It helps out a lot. Throw a comment too if you want. Hit subscribe. We're chasing that 1,000 subscribers. Almost there, getting there. Also, you can listen to this on all podcasting platforms. Make sure you go do that. Feel free to give it a listen there, although I like the audio-visual experience a little bit more. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, especially those attending Daytona. I will talk to you all next week. I guess it'll be August. Oh, shoot. The 25th. Yeah, that's when I'll see you guys again. But peace out. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next time.